part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey. Season 2, episode 11.
Hey, got it right this week.
You know what rhymes with 11?
Not 7.
Well, 7 does
It
rhyme
does,
with
you're
it.
right.
But apparently we were not in episode 7, and
No.
I was not even on planet Earth for that conversation.
No, that's why when you said it, I was like, yeah, I'm not so sure this is episode 7, but, rock and roll.
We just keep cranking out the content. I hope you're enjoying it. Oh,
And-
by the way,
Yeah,
I'm Jason.
I'm Gary
This is the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
for the Sports Collector.
And we are brought to you by the Press Play Podcast Network. Exciting news.
What you got?
We've just re-upped for another year.
Yeah, we
with
did.
Press Play Podcast
Yep.
Network. And so we're going to be building out more content, partnering with them more. You'll see some more interactions. But seriously, if we haven't told you once, twice, or 500 times, check them out.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot there, especially if you're Cleveland oriented. There's a ton of Cleveland sports stuff.
Speaking of Cleveland, I'm just jumping right into it.
Do it, man.
The dark horse. He wasn't even that good before I said something on the podcast.
I don't think
But
that's true.
Stephen Kwan is breaking records.
Yeah, you're going to just ride this horse till it dies, aren't you?
Absolutely. I got nothing else good happening to me in the sports world. I'm a Reds fan and a Dolphins fan and a Buckeyes fan, which that might pan out, but it's been a rough week for them. Stephen Kwan can't miss the ball.
He's putting barrel on ball pretty consistently.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. And he just surpassed Jay Bruce
Yep.
with some type of record regarding like your first 5 games. And
Well, let's not get too excited about that just because Jay Bruce really started his career hot and then he turned into Jay Bruce.
how dare you besmirch the name of Jay Bruce? And by the way, in my house, it's not Jay Bruce. It's Bruce.
See, when I think of Jay Bruce, I think of strikeout.
No, see, you're thinking of it all wrong. Here's what I think of. If I hear the name Jay Bruce, you know what else I'm thinking of? Austin Kearns, Adam Dunn, Brandon Phillips.
Who was our first baseman that got traded to the Pirates that I love? Sean Casey.
Sean
I love Sean
freaking
Casey so much.
I got my dad a Sean Casey auto for his birthday.
Yeah, I love Sean Casey. He was just fun to watch play
Yep.
baseball.
He was a good ball player. Aaron Boone,
yeah,
he ended up having a really good career.
and became a pretty good manager.
Well, he did hit one big. If you're gonna hit a home run,
That's the spot to do it in,
Game
right?
7, Yankee Stadium, not a bad place
Yeah.
to do it.
For sure.
Who else was on that team? Oh, let's talk about some of the bad. Danny Graves.
Oh. Oh. Yeah. Well, you could talk about those pitchers and how bad they were forever and ever and ever.
So Stephen Kwan is killing it. Guardians. Here's what I think is happening with them.
I still can't make myself think of them as the Guardians. I
I
know I
hate
have
it.
to, but I can't make
It's
myself
a
do it.
bad name, but when people kind of quit talking about it a month in, you know it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's just I'm
You know what's
45
bad?
years old, and I've
You
been
know what's
calling them
bad?
the Indians for 45 years.
Commanders.
Oh, you know what else is bad? Daniel, who's the owner there? Dan Snyder. He may go to jail.
Oh, they're done.
It's bad over there right
They're
now.
done.
That he's not going to own that team much longer.
Yeah, he's going to the Ozarks to launder money through.
like the freaking federal government is like, you broke about 8 million fraud laws, so yeah, about that.
He's going to be hiring that team over in the Ozarks to run some money.
Well,
make
the good
everything
news
right.
is if you are a Commanders fan, that means that there is a chance that the team might be good again. You know what would be awesome?
You might not have poop running down the stands during the game.
Yeah, well, that stadium's just it's a wreck.
It's literally a shithole.
Yes, it's a wreck. Now, here's the good news though, Commanders fans.
How dare you?
There's a chance that your owner or ownership group, if this happens, might include Joe Gibbs. How awesome would that be?
That'd be kind of cool.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. So the good news is this is a huge distraction from Miami.
Well, yeah. Well, so I was going to talk about Miami too. So did you see the article that came out this week that talked about why Tom Brady came back from his retirement to the Bucs?
Well, it was a conversation about Miami, wasn't it?
Well, so evidently he has a bunch of ties to other minority owners to the Dolphins, And the plan was for him to go be a part of the front office in Miami for a year as a part owner. And then once his contract was gone from the Buccaneers books, coming back and being an owner player for the Dolphins.
A little Pete Rose action.
Well, let's hope not.
A lot going on. We're all over the place, but we're glad that you're listening in. Some other things are happening. Let's jump into some hobby news.
Can
I'm going to
we
circle
also
back to
talk about
Cincinnati.
the fact that right now all of the power of the sun is coming through the window in the studio and blinding me? I feel like Helen Keller right now.
It's a good thing that you have the skin of, what's her name? Elizabeth.
LeMaster?
Not
My
your
daughter?
daughter. What was her name? She had like violet eyes.
Elizabeth Taylor?
Elizabeth Taylor. But I mean like currently her skin.
Well, she's dead, so that's weird.
I mean like currently.
Just wormholes coming out of my arm, getting
whoa,
roasted by
whoa,
the
whoa,
sun.
whoa. This is a PG-13 show.
I said wormholes.
Yeah. That's pretty morbid.
Yeah, but that's not anything
I
that would
just
be
meant
rated
that
R.
your skin is
pale?
not, well, in some places it's pale.
I have coach skin for sure.
It looks like a tanned hide.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Like anything
But like
that's
a very fair tanned hide.
anything that's not covered by a shirt or socks or like pants is brown, and everything else looks like clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how we got there.
Oh, because the
Hobby
sun
news.
is roasting
Hobby
my
news.
eyes. Hobby news.
Big Time Wrestling is
Oh.
taking the main stage.
Prism. Panini dropped WWE Prism this last week, and
I have a question before you
yeah,
jump in.
fire away.
So for those of us that were mostly like major sports people, like me, the the late 80s, early 90s WWF era was kind of my thing.
Yep.
I was a Razor Ramon guy. Rest in peace. He just passed away.
He did.
But once like NWO and some of these other things happened, I quit paying attention to it at all.
Okay.
So when it comes to like big time wrestling, when you say WWE, does that because people my age are going to be chasing stuff from our childhood? Does it include WCW? Does it just include WWF? Do you have any idea? On
Well,
that?
so you got to remember WWE used to be WWF, right? And they became WWE because the World Wildlife Foundation sued Vince McMahon, and instead of fighting it, he just went, yeah, whatever, that's fine. We'll change the F to an E and call it a day. But yes, this set has Hulk Hogan, it has Andre the Giant, it has Ultimate Warrior, it has Sting, it has all those old school guys in it. So Panini dropped this product, and we knew it was coming. I don't know that anybody really thought it would do what it's done in the week and a half that it's been out. We all knew that the box prices were going to be stupid because Panini. So you can plan on $1,200 hobby boxes at a minimum. Right now they're up to about $13. On release day they were $9.50 most places, and there have been some massive sales already from this product. You got a list there. Of
yeah,
stuff,
I just
don't
wrote
you?
down a few of them, but Ultimate Warrior, 1 of 1, non-auto. It's
Correct.
gold, right?
Well, he's dead, so it's hard to.
Well,
get an
that
auto.
would really be something.
Yeah, it would.
Oh man, the Ultimate Warrior, $15K
Yeah.
sold prices.
Yes, sold price. These aren't asking prices. These are sold prices.
Who else do I have down here? John Cena, Color Blast,
11-ish.
11-2.
Yeah. I know there was a Hulk Hogan gold auto that sold for over $10,000.
Gable Stevenson, 14K.
Here's how out of touch with wrestling I am. My childhood was spent watching way before the WWE. Like, I remember the Von Erich brothers and the Iron Sheik when wrestling
Hey, who
was
were
like,
these guys?
That was the
Bushwhackers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in the WWF era. The stuff I remember was regional wrestling.
How old are you?
44.
Okay, so you got 8 years on me.
Yeah.
That's about right then.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Man, you got to experience way cooler stuff than I did with that 8 years. Because you're actually Gen X. So you get
Yeah.
that left like 70s into 80s.
yeah.
And then people that are your age don't say that I'm Gen X, but then I meet millennials and I'm like, I'm definitely not you.
Yeah, you're in that. I'm in the tail end of Gen X. So my childhood was the 80s and my formative years were the 90s.
Top 3 wrestlers for you.
Top 3 wrestlers of all time for me.
Not all time. Favorite. PC.
My favorites. The Von Erich brothers. I thought the Iron Sheik was amazing. Like, he had the camel clutch.
Yeah.
And there was nothing athletic about the move. He straddled your back, grabbed your chin, and just ripped your head backwards as hard as he could.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure when that became a move, but I imagine it would hurt. And after that, probably Ultimate Warrior, because Ultimate Warrior made his like really big push in like, I was in 6th grade, 6th grade. So 88, 87, 88 era. And, this dude came out of nowhere with this bright colored face paint and these fringed armbands and just bright yellow tight shorts. And he screamed weird stuff and kicked everybody's ass. It was fun to watch. Yeah. But the Von Erich brothers will always have a special place in my heart. So we had, when I was a little kid, our house, we lived in South Zanesville, right? And the basement was a full basement. And there was a bedroom down there. And then there was but other than the bedroom, everything was concrete, right? And we had a couch and a bookshelf and then the TV in an entertainment stand. And the TV was old school, so there was a UHF dial. So you'd have to like tune it in, right? And I would get wrestling on, and I would jump off of that bookcase onto that couch, just dropping flying elbows onto imaginary people all day long.
So my wife had a couple of so they were licensed pillows.
Yeah.
But do you remember those? They were like 2 foot
they were
tall.
shaped like wrestlers.
And I guess her and her sister would get jacked up on candy and just body slam them late into the night. And they had a trampoline, so they would definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So if I had to pick top 3, and this is just going to be off of what I enjoyed. Razor Ramon, I think it was the curly Q in his hair. And
that dude always weirded me out. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, very uncomfortable watching it. Hulk Hogan, fun fact. We had a very restricted list of movies that we could watch. It was like really conservative when I was younger.
Yeah.
That changed when I got a little bit older. But somehow we rented or borrowed Mr. Nanny, which was a Hulk Hogan movie. And it's terrible. It's one of the worst movies ever. But I already liked Hulk Hogan, so that would be up there. And then, so it's a 2-way tie. I don't think it's the same person. But Yokozuna, and then there was a Rikishi. You remember him?
No.
So they're both large men, the sumo vibes, and one of them, their ultimate move was putting their sweaty butt on somebody's face.
That sounds
which
pretty
I
great.
just thought
was amazing.
Yeah.
For me, I stopped watching wrestling in probably 91.
So I'm like 95-ish is when I.
Yeah.
And that's whenever like
that's when
Hollywood
I graduated
Hogan.
high school.
Yeah, not me. Anyway, so it's obvious to see just with us spitballing here why the WWE market is taking off, because you don't realize it, but you watched it. It was a part of your childhood. It's nostalgic, and you basically can flip cards. Crazy value if you can get a hold of it. It's similar to what's happening with the Formula One, that first release. I think it has more to do with Panini trying to position themselves a little bit without these licensing.
Well, I think that's a lot of it, but I think.
But guess what else? What else is going to happen in a year?
What's that?
Fanatics is going to spend a ton of money and buy that too.
Well, so the thing about the wrestling market, and so one of the things that I think we're all guilty of in the sports card market, we saw it with the zero cool drops of the Gary Vee stuff and the Jackass stuff.
Which, by the way, Jackass is very affordable.
Yeah, I think that it came in at like $260 a box.
Also, don't buy that for you and the kids.
Right. Also, you shouldn't have paid more than $50 or $60 a box for it. My max bid on V Friends was $60 a box, and it went for $2,200. So
you're close.
Well, but here's the thing: what people have realized, that stuff was getting shilled to no man's land. One of the one-of-ones went the first week after release. It got shilled up to like $15,000, and then last week the exact same card sold for $585.
Wow! So,
be careful with that stuff. But my point being, one of the things that us sports fans are guilty of, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else, we tend to be a little bit snobbish, and we look at things like WWE as not being real sports.
Yeah.
And they're not. But you know what they have? Massive followings. Massive. WrestleMania puts 100,000 people in the stands.
So, speaking of WrestleMania, it was like 2 weeks ago, I think. Pat McAfee show.
Oh, yeah.
Just signed a bajillion-dollar contract with FanDuel.
He got DDT'd.
He was in it. So you're starting to see people that are emerging in pop culture that aren't even, I guess as a commentator he would be, but it's not just Ronda Rousey and Brock Lesnar coming
Right.
back and some of these other,
Well,
athletes. I guess he's a punter. Did we count
Yeah.
it?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
he was a really good
I
punter.
love Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
If he was here, I'd give him a hug right now.
He just, I think in general, that whole world is way bigger than we like to give it credit for being. And
Do we just have an image in our mind of that person that's
Yes.
our age? Their Rustler jeans are
Yeah.
crisp.
yeah,
Their shoes Velcro. But
their
they
mullet
have
is solid.
they have a T-shirt collection that could pay off their house and they don't realize it.
Yeah, like that's the thing we forget. And the other part about it is think about us. So we put our disposable dollars into sports cards because that's what we're into, right? But there are a lot of people my age, your age, and even a little bit older who grew up on and so this is like a super nostalgic thing. You mean I can get a Hulk Hogan autographed card that's numbered to 10? That's awesome. And I think the other thing that we forget is that in general, those of us who look at this hobby as an investment first and a collection second, or an investment and collection equally, forget that there's a huge portion of people who just collect. And those are the people that you want to sell your stuff to. You don't want to sell your stuff to the guy that wants to flip it, right?
Yeah, because they're not looking for that margin.
Right.
So here's a question I have for you. What do you think happens to the market on the Topps WWE from the last few years? Do you think that sees an uptick?
It has already. Like the shiny stuff, the Topps Chrome and the Topps Finest.
But reflective with the release of the Prism stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it'll have any type of a massive uptick over what it's already had in those markets. Like there, we were making jokes about the who was the racer you pulled? Danica Patrick.
It's the same thing.
So the
You and I go to the store and see that blaster, and
Yeah.
we're realizing what kind of hit and what kind of popularity it is. I'm probably picking that up over
Chronicles all day.
for sure.
Yeah. I think
I used
that-
to say Heritage, but after you hitting that Wander,
Yeah, I
and the
like
Miggy,
Heritage. I like
I
Heritage
like
as
the
a product.
cardstock. I like the vintage.
Yes,
You're
I do
never
too.
grading one.
No, it's tough. It's tough to
Which
grade those.
maybe there's a market on 10s for that.
There is.
'Cause
I mean,
it's
if
a
you
huge-
go look at Tatis Heritage rookies autographs and stuff, there's
All
a market.
right, I'm going 20 different directions here.
That's
but-
okay. That's our game plan, man. That's what we do. Every time we hard plan an episode, it's boring.
Yeah, like who wants to know all these prospects that are going to make you a ton of money?
Yeah.
Nobody ever heard of Stephen Kwan before I said something on the podcast.
Well, Bowman and Topps ever had because he didn't have any cards.
I'm trying to give the people what they need.
He did get a Topps Now card after his debut.
Is that going to be the flagship?
No, it'll be an update. It'll either be an update or Series 2.
They'll milk this out to
He was
2023.
he was on an opening day roster, so he'll probably be in Series 2. That's my guess. Just like
Okay.
Lou Bob was 2 years ago.
It's really unfortunate that he doesn't already have a card because a contact hitter, I don't see him 80 games in having any of the same level of hype that he has right now. Do you think he holds? But if you're able to hit the ball 80% of the time,
Well, here's the thing with a guy like that. If he bats .325 as a rookie with 18 home runs and 80 RBIs and 20 stolen bases, he's going to win Rookie of the Year. He's going to win Rookie of the Year. He's the only rookie that is not struggling out of the gate. Bobby Witt's hit a couple of home runs, but he's hitting like 180. Julio Rodriguez is hitting 071. Spencer Torkelson's hitting 150.
It's
So-
just like it's almost like all the names I picked.
Guys are struggling out of the
Yeah.
gate, and that's normal. What
Yeah.
people don't realize is that baseball, and we've talked about this a little bit, but baseball is one sport that the difference in, as far as a batter goes, the difference in competition between AAA and Major League pitching is night and day. And there's an adjustment period. Another big adjustment period for those guys, and people don't think about this either. You go to a minor league stadium for a Tuesday afternoon game, there's 5,200 people in the stands.
On a good day.
On a good day. You go to Yankee
Cincinnati,
Stadium.
you go to Great American Ballpark, 35.
Yeah. If you go to Yankee Stadium or you're at Cleveland Stadium, you're at some of these ballparks where they really pack it out, and all of a sudden you're playing in front of 35,000 people, and you know that there's a lot of pressure on you. You're a hyped rookie. Although I will say this, the home run that Torque hit 2 days ago was a monster shot.
Yeah.
So Stephen Kwan, he's doing his thing, putting the barrel of the bat on the ball, and getting a lot of hits. What is he hitting? About 600 still?
Yeah, he's crushing it.
Yeah.
Other hobby news. Yeah, so we've tried to be very positive about this story over time.
To be fair, we've probably gotten more negative as time has gone by.
Yeah. HGA is definitely on life support.
Yeah. I don't see them being around in 6 months. The founder made an announcement a couple of days ago that he is stepping away from the company. Now, I thought it was very interesting that he did not say that he sold his shares of the company.
There was a lot that was not said.
He did not say that the investors were planning to expand the company. He just said he was making the difficult decision to step away from the company. Roughly 6 months after he had to basically get bailed out by an investment company who specializes in coming in and deconstructing failing companies, selling off their assets for profit.
So what does that mean for HGA?
What it means for HGA is they've laid off probably 70% of their staff at this point. They have a massive backlog. They went from grading and accepting 25,000 cards a week to the last month and a half, they're only getting 1,000 cards subbed a week, 1,200 cards subbed a week. They turned off their counter. It used to be
They
that,
turned off notifications.
yeah, well, they turned off. It used to be they had a limited number of slots, and if you didn't get in that waiting room right out of the gate, you weren't going to get it. They turned off the counter because they realized how stupid they were looking. So now it's just open submissions, and they're not even getting enough stuff to make it make sense. There are legitimately off the wall, no name, just insanely low end companies out there that are getting more submissions than HGA is.
So here's a play that I think is out there. 9 5s and 10s.
Well, there aren't a lot of 10s. Their 9.5s are rough. What I would do personally, if I was making that play, the thing that their grading system was really bad at was grading surface. They were so unbelievably hard on surface.
But it's the hybrid approach.
It's something. I would look at their cards if you're buying them. I wouldn't necessarily look just for 9.5s and 10s. I would look for anything that has 9 or 9.5 better subgrades everywhere except for surface.
Yeah.
And snag those up.
So
but their stuff's selling for
I
basically
have a
raw
question.
prices.
Maybe I'm ignorant to this, but I need an answer to this question. Where's the technology?
It doesn't exist,
This is like this show I just watched.
which is what?
I wish I could remember the name. But essentially, this girl started a big pharma company, pharma tech, and none of it worked. Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
that's where I have more frustration about what's going on because I just didn't anticipate. And also, I will say I stand a little bit corrected by some of the old heads, not the sneaker heads, but some of the ones that have been collecting for a while that were just like, hey, just stick with, yes, we're backlogged. Yes, you can't get your stuff back. Yes, it's overpriced. But in time, stick with some of these reputable companies. What's hard for me is the greed, the poor management, the lack of decent turnaround times, the not caring about the customer that you see with some of these big brands. But on the flip side, this is not an easy thing to do. This is not something because you have investors you can pull off.
It's not, and it gets worse when. So the biggest issues with HGA to me were, one, I was excited about them when they launched because I knew the owner. My experiences with him up until he started HGA were that he was a good dude. And then at every turn, it was shoot themselves in the foot. The whole concept appears to have been built on a lie. There was no artificial intelligence. They were scanning cards, and random people who were working at Starbucks 4 days before were looking at the scans of your card and determining what the grade was.
And probably getting paid better than the PSA graders.
Oh, PSA graders make nothing.
This is part of the problem.
Yes.
So I wanted to pull for HGA. I love the idea of custom labels, but 2 months in, there's a label where somebody's artwork is stolen.
Yeah.
The horizontal debacle. Nobody really wants it.
Yeah.
Nobody's buying horizontal slabs. And your whole argument was we're going to manage the floodgates here so that we can't have a backlog.
Yeah.
But somewhere along the way, that became a windfall of money, and it's just so much to manage.
That's the key. You just nailed it on the head. There was so much cash flowing in that I think there was a moment where it was like, oh, this can't fail. And I will say this. It was not the best look, in my opinion, as you are having your company slowly but surely start to fail on every single promise that you made to the card community, and your owner is out spending tens of thousands of dollars a week in high-end breaks. That's not a great look.
And my goal is not
it's his money. You do what you want to do.
My goal is not to go after Tyler.
No, for sure.
My 2 cents, which mean nothing. I don't have a single submission with HGA, so that just for clarity.
Correct. I own one HGA card. It's an Aaron Rodgers rookie.
How do I want to word this? There is a difference between acumen and manipulation. Between acumen and manipulation is not the right word.
Skis-ballishness.
And skis ballishness. And I think what we're seeing in this story is such demand, systems not in place that were prepared for it, and mission drift. So those are all like buzzwords. Mission drift just means you start out building this one cool thing, right?
Somebody used to work in corporate leadership.
Yeah. So if you have the best ice cream stand in town, you need to be the best ice cream stand in town. The moment you decide that you're going to start offering a bunch of other meals, you're going to put yourself in a bad place. The other thing is called a hedgehog concept, right? The hedgehog is attacked, right? The hedgehog is not fast. The hedgehog is not strong. The hedgehog really can't do a whole lot. It can do one thing.
Are you a hedgehog?
It can roll up into a ball. Yeah, that's a good start. It's a good start. The hedgehog is not strong, I said. I am strong. It can roll up into a ball, but that's the only thing that it can do to protect itself. And I think within this type of market, if you're going to open a grading company, you need to have the one thing that you're doing that nobody else is. And it seems like that target kept moving for HGA. And in my opinion, that's where a lot of the mess started.
I don't disagree with you. And as somebody whose brain is very what's the word I'm looking for? Chain reactive. So I get the thought process of, hey, I'm doing this, but I got this idea and it can make it better. And then I get this idea that comes off of that idea. And before you know it, like you just said, you're in a whole different place because you didn't focus in on the things that mattered the most. And there are two things that they focused in on at the beginning. Their whole pitch was one, or 10 days means 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
That was just plastered on
We
their
will
website.
shut the door to other submissions so that you get what you need.
Yes. And then the second thing was artificial intelligence. Both things
You won't
turned
even
out to be-
believe how artificial that intelligence was.
Both turned out to be bullshit. And that's the problem. And the sad part about it is, and we talked about this the other day, not just about this, but in general, one of the things that happens in the sports card world, because it is a relatively small market in comparison to everything else in the world, people, and because so much of that market takes place in social networks, people start to feel like they have a personal connection with leadership and owners of these companies. And they become not just fanboys, but they become defend to the death, regardless of facts, fanboys, because they think that if they do that, the owner of this company is going to appreciate them and they're going to be friends. That's not real life, and ignoring factual data is asinine. It's the same reason that when new companies come out, PSA fanboys and BGS fanboys just turn on them and say, oh, they're trash, this and this and this. You ignore facts at your own peril. Where's BGS now? They're behind SGC.
Mm-hmm.
SGC has taken over the number 2 spot.
Yeah, BGS is running Bowman.
Yeah. Well, and I tell you who else is taking over Bowman is FCG or FGC. Yeah. No, FCG. I said it right the first time. They're grading.
We need more
the,
letters, people.
Yeah, most of they're grading.
That was the
a
best
lot
part
of
of
the high
HGA.
end.
You
Yeah.
could say it. You didn't get it confused with anybody else.
Well, I mean, they're grading a ton of high end Bowman. BGS just doesn't seem to care anymore. SGC's market share has climbed ahead of them. Their resale value has climbed ahead of them. SGC 10s are selling for more than BGS 9.5s are across the board.
Mm-hmm.
The market changes, and if you are slow to recognize facts and kick and scream, you're going to be left behind. Pretty simple.
I think we'll see more of Fallout over the next year with a lot of these overnight successes within the hobby.
We talked about Star Stock last week.
Yeah.
And like if you can't do the things you say you're going to do, you're not going to have credibility in the marketplace. PSA is an exception to that rule because they've got so much market share. A lot of it is that there's so many people that are so heavily invested cash-wise into PSA slabs that they're kind of too big to fail, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be. Could be. I'm going to move over to some even more depressing news as we get ready to finish up here. I am so lucky.
Okay.
How lucky are you?
That's a good question.
I get the Miami Dolphins and the Cincinnati Reds as owners for my favorite teams.
Yeah.
So, Phil Castellini, if you didn't hear it.
Bob Castellini.
No, Phil.
Oh, it's the brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
700 WLW. The Reds are on the radio.
Don't do that ever again.
I might do it right now. The Reds are on the radio.
And we
First
just
time was
lost
better.
listeners.
First time was better. Anyway, 700 WLW AM radio is the official home of the Cincinnati Reds. Has been since the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Correct.
Castellini's interviewed, and they're talking about how there's been a fire sale in Cincinnati, things that I'm very frustrated with. In this moment, there's one job for the ownership to do with the fan base, regards to the fan base, and that's to make everybody feel okay about how things are. The other option you have, other than the right thing to do, is to be defensive and begin a power struggle. So Castellini was just asking for us to trust him a little more, and he was called out on the show, and they just said, why should we? In the last several years, here's what we've seen, here's what's happened with the organization, to which Castellini responds, be careful what you ask for. Castellini just said, don't make me come down there.
Yeah. Or we're going to move the team.
Or what team?
I agree. I'm with you.
So then he goes, where are you going to go? Let's start there. The arrogance in the pride with this guy. He says, sell the team to who? To which I would argue, anyone except for people in Pittsburgh, because they do the same thing. If you want to have this debate, if you want to look at what you would do with the team to be more profitable, to make more money, to come more in the current economic system, it sounds like somebody's struggling with managing their finances. This game that exists, it would be to pick up and move somewhere else, to leave the Queen City. That's right, the same city that produced the team that went to the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
That has a fan base that is not complaining, that has a fan base that's never been more excited, that's building a practice facility instead of playing under the bridge. This is terrible. He's basically saying, if you don't like it, I'll take my ball and go home. Then he tries to offer an apology, which wasn't even an apology.
No, of course not, because why would a billionaire need to apologize?
His apology
to
says
peons?
is, I know exactly how you feel. No, you don't, because all you're talking about is your bottom line, and I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
And so here's what people like Castellini are so out of touch. I couldn't agree more with Harbaugh's quote. It's easy to celebrate when you're starting on third base.
Yeah.
But his whole approach is that it is just dollars and cents. When you talk about a city that you can't even compare the impact that the Reds have had in Cincinnati to the Bengals. You can't. Hopefully, I think the tide's turning.
Well, not now. You can't.
No. Just what the Red Machine did in that era for the city.
Well, yeah. And don't forget about the Nasty Boys era, too.
Yeah.
Like we had the early 90s. We were good.
Absolutely. So here's the thought I have for you, Castellini. I'm 36 years old, and I have a vivid memory from my childhood. It's one that I've never forgotten. It's one of my favorite days of my life. I was a middle school kid, maybe 8th or 9th grade. My dad used to do this thing called Dad Day, where you got to skip school once a year, and you got to go do something fun with him. And for my family, it cost a lot of money for me to go to a ball game.
Yeah.
And my dad took off that day and took me to Cincinnati, which was like a 3-hour drive, to get to the park and ask them the best available seats they had that day. And you know what seats they were? First row behind the Reds dugout. Scott Rowland was in his second year. I got to meet him. He was in a Phillies uniform because I grew up about one county away from where he was. Eddie Taubensee hit a walk-off home run, bottom of the ninth, for the Reds to win.
I haven't thought about that dude forever.
Fireworks went off. It was the old stadium. And for me, that was a magical moment as a kid. And what it cost my family to do those types of things was a lot more than it cost Castellini to have a little bit of dignity or perhaps take the risk of offering empathy to fans that are tired of the bullshit.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more.
And I'm trying not to lump this in with the Miami situation because, Tyreek Hill. But I'm very frustrated.
Yeah, well, I'm a Reds fan too, and it is the thing that these owners don't get. When I hear guys say things like that, your average fan coming to your stadium and sitting in the green seats, right, is middle class. The idea of coming to a game with their family of 4 and it costing, by the time you eat a few hot dogs and have a beer, $450. That's a lot of money for most people. And for you to roll out the team that you've rolled out there this year is insulting enough. And then for you to come and say when you're questioned about it, hey, either deal with it or we'll move the team.
Yeah, it's like he's saying, well, we just need better fans.
That's
what other industry does this work in? If your food is garbage, nobody's going to your restaurant.
Right. Well, I mean, I think you're going to see Cincinnati's overall attendance drop
Sorry
off.
for using the food reference. I'm a fat guy and I'm a little bit hungry.
Well, same.
I just think he's so out of touch with Midwest, Appalachia. This is, the Rust Belt reaches clear into this area.
Name me a billionaire that isn't.
Yeah.
The difference is they all tend to know it, so they don't say things.
Yeah, there's
like
no
that.
self-awareness here. And I guarantee you, so the apology sucked, but he probably didn't even write that crap.
Right. No,
So,
somebody else did.
Yeah, I'm going to be a pissed fan until you do your job.
Yeah, put a competitive team on the field.
Any other industry we're investing, and his whole idea is like, well, my dollars don't make sense to him. That's fine. But when you multiply that over the Reds fan base, who can just go, if it's Cincinnati loyalty, they're just like, all right, it's football season.
Yeah.
Burrow's back.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the ship. Like that's what everybody's thinking in Cincinnati.
For sure.
You know, Cincinnati's my baseball team, and I was so emotionally invested my whole life with what's going on there. There have been times I've followed them closer than others, but I tell you what, when they're terrible and somebody's like, well, we can just take it and leave. I hated that kid growing up.
Yeah.
And he's still that kid.
Well, for sure. And at the end of the day, it boils down to these guys take their fan bases for granted. And what's really frustrating about that is then when the fans stop coming, they throw fits and want to move the team.
What, you don't want baseball? No, baseball's not the problem.
Yeah, we'd love to have actual baseball. You're rolling a AAA team out there.
Well,
and trying to
clearly
play
you
the
don't
major
understand
leagues.
what it takes to have a win.
Yeah.
Win.
Compete.
You can have a team in Anchorage, Alaska, but if you're having an incredible season, people are going to go to the game. I don't know how many because I don't know how many people live in Anchorage,
Not a lot.
but about everybody in Anchorage is going to go.
Yeah.
Don't build a huge stadium.
I don't think you could.
Maybe like 5,000 seats. It's going to have to be a dome. Which, hey, Castellini, here's an idea. Go to Alaska. If Cincinnati's the problem,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of money up there.
It's all oil and gold.
Yeah, there you go. I vote that Castellini himself goes and launches a program over there.
What if we send him to Mars with Elon Musk?
Elon's got bigger problems.
I don't disagree. But
Did you hear about Twitter today?
he wants to buy Twitter.
Well, he also offered the possibility if they decline that he will dump the shares.
Yeah.
And take it.
Yeah, he has 10% of the shares. If he dumps them, it'll get ugly.
That happened quick. Anyway,
Good times.
Miami Dolphins, Cincinnati Reds. At least I got my Buckeyes. You know what? Speaking of Buckeyes,
Yeah.
fuck, we should at least pay some homage to Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah. It's a
Gone
sad
way too
day.
soon.
There's no my daughter was actually friends with Dwayne Haskins and checked on her this week. She's sad. Nobody knows exactly what happened, but at the end of the day, it boils down to this. A 24-year-old young man lost his life. Did his NFL career go the way that everybody was hoping that it would? No. But there's still a family that is grieving and mourning, and he's gone too soon, and that's sad.
Yeah. That's part of it, too, just remembering a lot of these guys are still kids.
Yeah, I mean, they're all kids to me. Unless it's Tom Brady, they're all kids to me. Like, yeah.
Well, I don't want to leave this on a bad note, but I don't have anywhere else to go.
Well, I don't know that that's a bad note. It's just a reminder that life is not guaranteed to us. And it's one of the things I love about our hobby. It's a way to channel some fun and enjoyment in a world that doesn't guarantee us much of anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Enjoy the cards. Don't forget to put them down. Hug the people you love.
absolutely.
Say you love them
Most of the time.
most of the time.
Yeah.
I agree with that. We'll see you later. This has been the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector.
Take care.
Peace.